So we want to give you the 4 Ds of promotion. This is a little mini seminar on promotion and how to do marketing. The first one is design. What's going to be the design of your marketing? This usually includes your church name, and I would caution you to be careful in being overly cool in your church name. And believe me, that's coming from the guys who have a church called The Journey. But, you just want to be careful on that. Unfortunately for us, there's a whole shoe store chain up here called The Journey. And so people call me all the time about returning their shoes, and I just give them my home address and tell them to mail them to me if they're 10 and a half or whatever. You got to be careful with that. But obviously, we're talking about your name. We're talking about your logo that you have. And don't spend a ton of money on this. You can always change it when you get larger, but, you can have an initial logo. We're talking about your color scheme. If you are in Southern California, bright colors are great. If you're in the metro area, you might want to go with something more, say, black, or darker with that. Edgier would be on that. Here's the big point.
The big point is get professional help. Get professional help. In this area, we're talking about creating all of your promotional materials. And think about this. A lot of times, when you're promoting your church, hopefully you'll have people who come to your monthly services who are inviting friends, but a lot of times the first indication, the first impression someone's going to get of your church is going to be through some promotional materials, whether it's a mailer, whatever you decide to do. And so that's going to communicate, the design is going to communicate to them what kind of church you are. And so don't just risk it by drawing something in an amateur way. Get someone who knows what they're doing, who knows how to do it, and can get a good look, an appropriate look for your church and the different materials you use.
So design is the first D. The second D is direct mail, M-A-I-L, direct mail. For those who might have thought it was, M-A-L-E. I don't know why I decided to spell that, but direct, M-A-L-E,
By what we mean by direct mail is doing mailers to maybe a zip code or a specific demographic in your town or in your city, just mailing directly to them. And a lot of churches do this, some don't do this. And there's several questions you can ask yourself to help you decide if it would be effective in your specific location.
Yeah, as you think about this, again, go talk to one of the largest printing companies in your community and one of the largest mail houses. There are companies that do this, and this is all they do. And they're usually called mail houses or printers. And find one that's really good at this and talk with them. Because you can waste a lot of time, and there would be 1,000 questions that you could ask us that we can't answer because we don't know your area. But they will know, and they will know what the biggest and the best marketers in your area do. And they'll be able to help you know, do you do a full zip code drop, or do you do targeted mailings in this area? Do you hit a smaller segment multiple times, or do you hit a larger segment once? And it very much depends on what's working.
And they can tell you how many families there are that you can mail to, how many married couples, how many people in a specific age demographic, and they can help you target the mailing that you're going to do.
And so if you can only mail to 15,000 people in an area that has 180, 200,000 people, I would make sure I get the right list. And so if I was doing a parenting series, I would just mail to people who had more than 2 children. If I was doing a series on divorce, I would get the names of everybody who's divorced. And they know this kind of stuff. It's actually scary what they know about me and about you because of our buying habits. But a good company can help you with that. And so you have to decide if direct mail is even right for you. And so here's some questions you can ask.
One question is there another church doing direct mail in my area? And so if you're in a location and you move there, pay attention to what comes in your mail. Is there another church that you're receiving direct mail from? If so, maybe they've already got that market and people think that's the church that mails stuff. Yeah, but if there's no one else in your community doing it, then you got to think maybe this is a good place for us to come in to be the first church to do this, grab some attention that way. Again, you don't want to be competing with other churches in that area. Then you have to ask, is it cost effective? I mean, because it does cost to do that. You have to look at your resources as well.
The question on that is, should I do a direct mail or should I just give the people who are coming 10 or 15 copies and have them do it? And we'll talk about that in a moment.
The third D is this: display advertising and media. Display advertising and media. And here you see we've put some examples of different ways to use that.
Yeah, and this is just another part of your arsenal of marketing. But press releases, in a lot of areas of the country where the press is not nearly as negative toward church as they are perhaps in our area where we are at, we keep a very distant relationship with the press in New York because of the negativity of the press there, and I don't mean that in a bad way. You know, we love the New York Times. We love the press in our area, but they would probably not run a press release from us. That's just the reality. You know, but in many areas of the country, just writing up a press release about a new church and sending that to a newspaper is free publicity. And, you know, it's a great way to get the word out. Or if you're doing a servant evangelism event like a gas buy down or something like that, a lot of times the press in some areas of the country are very pro-church. And some certain newspapers are. Some aren't, some are. So, you know, you could use that to your advantage for a lot of free publicity.
Yeah, and you see some of the different things that we've listed here. Here's the key. Experiment. Ask people what has worked before, but experiment. And if something doesn't work, you don't see any return on it, don't ride a dead horse. You know, find what works in your community, and when you find it working, you keep doing that because people are coming because of it.
Yeah, a couple of quick hits looking down. If you could afford to advertise on the top radio morning show in an area where people are commuting, I think that just is a great way of doing that. We did one ad one time here on the Howard Stern show, and we took a lot of hits from the Christian community, but our people loved it, made a big deal about it. Sports radio, man, sometimes that's so cheap, and you can get 300 spots over the course of a week on the local sports radio show. You can even sponsor, the different areas, and they say, today's ball game report is brought to you by, the Bridge Church or whatever.
By Budweiser and the Journey Church.
That's exactly right. Local trade journals. Sometimes there's specific journals that just reach different segments of your community. You can go after the business journals or artistic journals. And then my brother, who owned a couple of medical practices, he advertised on ESPN, CNN, and those other Weather Channel shows, and just got some great advertising rates on those. A lot of them ran in the middle of the night, but hey, if you're in trouble or under tension, you might be watching it in the middle of the night. So that'd be a great opportunity. Just look at that. And then there's this last one, which is obviously the fill-in for number 4, direct delivery. Direct delivery. Direct delivery is very personal. Direct delivery is one-on-one, sometimes called personal evangelism or personal invitation. And it's high risk, in that you've got to mobilize your people to actually talk to somebody else and invite them to your church, but it's high return. Now, the problem with direct delivery is it's too slow. And so if you only do person-to-person evangelism, it's going to take a long time for you to reach a large number of people. So you've got to complement direct delivery with some of these other advertising and media opportunities. But nothing beats direct delivery. As a matter of fact, in your notes, look at this paragraph.
Direct delivery is the highest risk, highest return option in advertising. Direct delivery includes everything from personal invites to servant evangelism or any other type of face-to-face church promotion. It's high risk in that it requires person-to-person contact, and if you're trying to make thousands of direct contacts, it will require the involvement of a lot of people. However, it's high return in that a personal invitation delivered by a live person is by far the most effective way of encouraging someone to attend your church.
So how do you maximize direct delivery? Just simply, you invite everyone you meet. We can't get any first-timers to come to our church. I always wonder, well, Pastor, aren't you inviting some people? It starts with you. I still carry invites in my wallet, and I'm constantly looking for people to invite.
Then ask everyone you know, especially your launch team, to promote your church. Talk to the people in the church. Give them invite cards. Give them opportunities to invite their friends to the comeback events. Make sure you have things that are attractive to them, and make sure that the series you're doing leading up to the launch is attractive. They can invite their friends to that as well.
You can use mission teams and get outside help to come in and help you get the word out. One of the most effective ways we've done that is doing widespread servant evangelism during the summertime or specific targeted events in the morning. And then, as I mentioned, when we had the folks up here, at every step of the way, at every comeback event or at every service, you're driving people to bring their friends to that big launch that's coming up. So those are just some ways that you can use advertising. And that's a very quick overview of what could be a multiple-day seminar on advertising, but we wouldn't be the ones to lead that. We'd have to get someone who's a better expert on, we'd have to get that professional help we were talking about.